Hello and welcome to Bourbon Rocks. Tonight we're going to review Weller C.Y.P.B, which stands for Craft Your Perfect Bourbon. For a while I used to think it was Create Your Perfect Bourbon, but technically it's Craft Your Perfect Bourbon. This is a product from Buffalo Trace. It's in the Weller line, which is the wheated bourbon. And so a few years back, what Buffalo Trace did was they asked some of their fans to go onto a website and basically describe what they thought would be their perfect bourbon. And then they compiled all these the data and decided basically what to bottle as this. So this isn't necessarily what Weller or Buffalo Trace thought was going to be the best bourbon, but it's what the fans thought. And, you know, it had to be reasonably priced and so forth. So, I'll tell you what I think and what I would choose, but this is basically a wheated bourbon, and it is aged on the highest floors of the warehouse. And those two things I agree with. I do love wheated bourbons, and the higher the elevation in the warehouse, basically the faster the bourbon ages, because it gets very hot up on the high floors, up to 120 degrees sometimes in the summer, and it can also get cold too, so that rapid changing in temperature helps the bourbon age faster. This is been aged at 8 years, and it's bottled at 95 proof. Now, I think I would have aged it a little bit longer, probably up to 12 years. And then I would have bottled it a bit higher. I like higher proof bourbons. I probably would have done it somewhere around 107, which is sort of that classic Pappy 10 age and so forth. The William LaRue Weller, which is the top of the line Weller, is one of the best bourbons in the world. Now that's barrel proof. Everything's bottle proof. Barrel proof, so that comes in at the bottle that I have comes in at 134 plus proof. But this one is going to be bottled at 95 proof. And you're going to see there's a whole line of Wellers, and we're going to go into some of those in a few other videos, and then we'll do a comparison flight of Wellers. And they're all going to be a little bit different. Some of them are going to be higher proof, some are going to be aged a little bit longer, some are going to be single barrel, for example. But the unique thing about the C.Y.P.B is the fact that this was sort of Buffalo Trace fan choice of what they thought would be the perfect bourbon. And so we're going to do it as is, because that's the way it came. Let's pour some. There's that wheated cork. You get that sweetness, that softness, almost little floral notes that you get from the wheat. All right, so we start out with our color, and you've got that sort of bronze look, a little more to the yellow orangish, not so much the deep red, but more of a sort of a yellow orangish bronze. The the body, it's medium to full, it does cling on the glass there, and you got some legs that sort of drapes down the side of the glass and so forth. It holds pretty well. Nose. So again, if you've watched any of our previous videos, you know how we basically nose our bourbon. Always use a Glencairn glass. Said this is not the only tasting glasses out there. In future videos, we may describe some other kinds of glasses, but this is still the gold standard for tasting whiskeys. On the nose, there's that immediately you hit that raisin, the dried fruits, maybe some apricot. Definitely raisiny. And then those wheat notes come out, the funnel cake, graham cracker, some of those sweet desserts. No spicy, maybe some allspice, definitely some baking type spice notes there. But it's pretty well rounded between the sweet, a little more to the sweet side than the spice, but it's soft. A lot of this kind of wheat, sort of baked goods notes. But I like the raisin, and the raisin definitely is the strongest thing on the nose. With the palate, chew. Ooh, yeah, that's good. All right, so again, you get some. There's a little bit of that white chocolate. That's where the sweet and butterscotch. That's where that sweetness is coming from. It's almost like there's little. If you were making cookies, you could have little white chocolate chip cookies or the butterscotch chips. Butterscotch, yum. There's some toasted oak. The allspice again is coming through. It's interesting. A little bit of the floralness from. I always think wheat tends to give a little floral notes. There's like an herbal tea kind of feel here. But whereas raisin came out in the beginning there, it comes through to that butterscotch. Excuse me, again, some of those baked goods. Now the finish is medium. That butterscotch lingers, just stays there in the mouth. It's a little bit thinner than I kind of hoped. I think maybe a little bit longer aging. If you get this up there 12 years, you might pull a few more of those vanillins out of the oak. There's some vanilla. It's not really that vanilla. It's more white chocolate and butterscotch. It's good. I mean, 8 years certainly is a good age for a bourbon. But I think if this was going to be craft your perfect bourbon, I would want it a little bit longer. We'll see. There's a 12-year Weller out there that we're going to do, but the problem is that one I have to check on the proof. It may or may not be a little bit lower proof than this. I'd also like the proof to be higher. There is one of the antique 107s, which is one of the baser levels of the Weller, which is spectacularly good, and it's 107. And 107 is like that sort of that perfect wheated bourbon. I mean, Pappy set that standard, and Weller Antique sort of continues that too. I think a little bit more proof on it would get a little bit more flavor. It falls a little flat. I mean, it's sweet. It's got good all around baked notes, baking spices, and definitely sweetness if you like cookies with those white chocolate and butterscotch chips in it. But it's just a little bit thin. But I would hope for the perfect bourbon that it would be better. It's good. Okay, I'm gonna give it a king. Okay, not an ace. I hoped it would be an ace. But again, you also have to keep in mind that if you tried to make a more perfect bourbon than this, you're probably going to jack the price significantly. I mean, first of all, William LaRue Weller from the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection is a perfect bourbon. That is one of the best bourbons on planet Earth. We've done a review of that, and you'll see that and Pappy 20 are right up at the top. But this one is a good bourbon. I mean, certainly it's a king, which king means basically that a king is a leader of men. This is a leader of bourbons. It's not going to win every single hand. You have to have an ace to really win every single hand. But a king's going to do very, very well. Obviously, it's right now on the internet. I've seen different price ranges. I've seen it up close to $1,000, but I've also seen it on sale down to $600. I think there was a lot of hype about it, which probably doesn't quite live up to its hype, which is why you really can't earn an ace, because it really kind of fell a little bit flat. But in terms of, it's king. It's still a very, very, very good bourbon, definitely. You got your classic sweetness coming out of it, white chocolate and that butterscotch. You've got the sort of those baked goods, that cookie and graham crackery, funnel cakeness, and then you've got some of the baking spices, particularly allspice. Let's see what water does, if we can do anything else with the water. A lot of times water, to me, brings out more fruit in a bourbon. Depends on the bourbon, but that's kind of my experience by and large. I got a little bit of hoarseness today. I apologize for that. Been using my voice quite a bit. Bourbon's probably good for your voice, right? All right, now that water brings that raisin back that we started out with on the nose. It does bring some of that little dried fruitness back to it. It gets it a little more complex. So, this you may want to put a little bit of water in this bourbon, so it will bring a little more complexities out of it. By and large, I drink most everything neat, even high-proofed bourbons. But you may want to put a couple of drops of water in. That's not to water it down by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually to bring out or enhance some of those flavors that get a little hidden. But anyway, so this is Weller C.Y.P.B. Craft, not create, craft your perfect bourbon. Again, it is a wheated bourbon aged on the highest floors of the warehouse for 8 years, and then bottled at 95 proof. So it's good, not the best. Little short, fell a little short from what I hoped it would be, but it's still a good bourbon. Check it out. Check us out on bourbonrocks.com. Thank you very much.